join, we'll send the recording out later on so that you can have others watch it too. So real quick, we're going to be talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot for your law firm, for legal professionals. And before I start though, the goal here is to help you focus more on your clients and not the actual work that you have to do. Instead, we like to give better customer service, and through better client services, we can get more customers and probably, hopefully, ultimately bill more, in the long run. So this is me, Jim Gast. Everybody likes to know who I am. I am a 28-year veteran of legal technology, cybersecurity, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But most important, I'm a dad, a husband, a jeeper, a runner, a dad dog. I think they own me. And I'm the president and founder of SpliceNet. We've been around for 28 years, and we serve specifically the legal vertical when it comes to this. So why listen to me? I've been doing it for almost 30 years, right? Highly specialized with law firm technology, cybersecurity, Microsoft, and productivity consulting, and now, of course, with artificial intelligence through Microsoft for law firms. Again, 28 years, probably helped thousands of law firms. I don't just call myself an expert, right? Because I have a lot of law firms that are my clients. I presented technology topics to the ABA, OSBA, CBA, NKBA, ALA, so many different other, alphabet soup legal associations on a national level and on a local level since the beginning, right? I think that was the thing that kind of set us apart. In addition to that, not only does that make me an expert, but I've also been, and many people, my staff have been certified on dozens and dozens of legal applications. So we're a managed service provider. We do work with the applications. We just don't consult on the applications from get-go. We actually help people pick the applications, and then we have great partners to implement them, and then we support them moving forward. Now, most importantly, though, over the last 12 months, Microsoft has asked me monthly to speak on Microsoft 365 Copilot. They asked me to do this one too. And so I've been presenting to thousands and thousands of people for the last 12 months, and I'm booked out with Microsoft through at least July, I'm expecting. And one of the great things for me, it's like being on Forbes magazine. I am actually quoted on Microsoft's nonprofit site because that's one of our verticals. Legal nonprofits is another vertical, and they love the fact that we work with legal and nonprofits. So that's me. That's why you probably want to listen. A couple quick things before we completely dive into this. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. As we go, Debbie will periodically ask me those questions, and if I don't have time for them, I'll say so, and I'll answer them at the end. We'll roll over into time after if I have to get the Q&A stuff done. So I want to make sure that we catch it in context as best we can, though. So what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? Everybody asks me what it is, okay? And I would say this. People are, people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs because of AI. And I'm just like, come on, man. That's crazy talk. We're just going to be doing other stuff. We're going to be doing things faster and better. I went through the robotics revolution, the computer revolution, and everybody thought they're going to lose jobs because of all this stuff. There's jobs out there still, without a doubt. And the industry's not going to change. My former business partner, Dave Myers, who's an attorney, back in like 2019, 2018, we're talking about AI back then, at the the Association of Legal Administrators National Conference, and he said, if you don't adapt, you're going to be out of a job. This is the ALA Legal Administrators, and I'd say, Dave, I don't believe that. I still don't believe it to this day, and I'm being proved right. Here's what it is. It's a personal assistant, okay? I want you to think of it like we can't hire staff, but we can buy a personal assistant to help us do things, right? It works within your Microsoft 365 bubble, and that's where it exists, and it securely works in there. So it doesn't send data out, okay? It can pull information in from the web, but it's not pushing that information out to the internet. It can look at all of the documents, emails, files, so on, spreadsheets, everything that you got, PDFs, emails, meetings, and so on and so forth that you've got in your Microsoft 365 that you have access to. If you don't have access to it, your license of Copilot doesn't have access to it and cannot return you results that you're asking for, things that you may not have access to. You just won't know about it. just like you. So you don't know if it exists. So if you think that, you want to know about the payroll or something like that, but you don't have access to payroll, guess what? It's not going to get it to you. However, we want to look at your security with your Microsoft 365, and we do roadmaps and security evaluations. So no cost to those. I'll talk about those later on. It works in your Edge. It works in your Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, Excel, and a whole bunch of other applications. It's actually embedded into those, all right, which is one of its big comparisons, in contrast, if you will, to all the other free stuff. Okay, what I like about it is it really saves me time. Today, I put the presentation together and all the details for it today in a matter of an hour. It would have taken me days to put this together. I'd been working on it for a week if I actually had to do it all myself. This presentation you're looking at was created by Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, I like to do a compare and contrast to Microsoft 365 Copilot to Microsoft Copilot and the other guys that we don't talk about. Shh. Okay? Shh, we won't mention them by name. I'm just kidding. Really, seriously though, you know, I'm kidding. ChatGPT is a great product. Microsoft Copilot is a great product, right? But they're the free ones that are out there. Microsoft 365 Copilot is different than those. They're great research engines, but you put your information into them and they're using them to build the large language model that everybody else pulls on. So they're public information that people can query. Microsoft 365 doesn't work like that. It's in your Microsoft 365. It knows your documents. It knows your emails. It knows all that stuff. So when you're asking about it, it doesn't have to go outside of that bubble to get it, all right? And and it's secure. So one of the other things is, though, when you say make a document in one of those programs, you got to copy and paste it back over. When you make a presentation, got to copy and paste it back over. Copilot will do that. And I'm going to show you how to do that stuff right here today. All right. You asked it about a meeting that you had, ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, which is the free stuff, it's not going to know what you're talking about. So that's a major difference here. And it's inexpensive. And we'll talk about that at the end too. So that is the end of what I'm going to kill you with Death by PowerPoint for right now. Okay. And I'm going to dig right in. Again, if you have questions, I want you to go ahead and ask them in the chat and Debbie will interrupt. Now, this is what I call a prompt document. This is my script for today. Okay. Yes, I had Copilot do this for me. So watch this. I'm going to take this and show you an example real quick. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to tell Copilot to make me an agenda for this session today, right here in front of you. I've pre-typed it out. I've given it some description of what I want, a little detailed on top of that, okay? And I'm going to say go, all right? Well, that was kind of anticlimactic. Go. And it's going to actually put together an agenda for me that I could use for this meeting, which is pretty much what I did for our meeting today. I just kind of sculpted it and made it a prompt document. So there's an agenda. Is it a final product? No. Nothing that Copilot turns out for you is a final product, or any AI for that matter. You need to make sure it's what you want, make sure it's accurate, okay, and make sure it talks like you and the way you want it to talk. Yeah, it's a great soup starter, but don't trust it completely. Trust but verify is what I say. So there's an agenda right there, quickly. Now, before I go any further, though, I want to get right into the specific things. So I'm going to talk to people at roles today, paralegals, legal administrators, and then attorneys. And I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things that each of these individuals, these roles do. So the one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to find out if we have any non-disclosure agreements in Microsoft 365. Well, I'm going to use the Microsoft 365 chat, which is a program that comes with Microsoft 365 Copilot. Here it is right here. You can either look at your work information or the web information. When you look at the work information, it's looking at the stuff inside. So I'm going to say, do we have any non-disclosure agreements? Okay. Now I can do this in Word, but I'm doing it in the chat because I want you to see it. I want you to see a difference here. So it's going to come up and it's going to say, I'm not using Word access, but yeah, I've got some non-disclosure agreements. Let's go and stop. Okay, so I've got some non-disclosure agreements in here and I could ask more about them. So we did find them and I do have them, right? And I can be more detailed about that if I want to. I'm not going to. I could say, do I have any non-disclosure agreements specifically for this? Do I have any clauses in non-disclosure agreements? You can get really, really detailed in what you're trying to accomplish. Now, what I want to do, where's my Word? I'm going to start a new Word document, go back to my prompt document. I'm going to stay on a track here. I'm going to use Microsoft Word Copilot. Actually, yeah, I'll do that. And so using Microsoft 365 Copilot, I'm going to reference, I could have done that previous search in Word, but I did it in a Copilot chat instead. So what I'm going to do here is turn off access to the internet. Well, what does that mean? Okay. Well, I'm going to say Copilot. There's two places you can do it. In Word, there's things you could do with Copilot. In PowerPoint, there's things you can do with Copilot. Some of them are similar, but there are some differences. This right here up here is the Copilot prompt area to do something in the document or to the document. As I generate the document, there's going to be another one in the document. This over here, when you open up the panel in most places of your applications for Copilot, this is more about the document or web research, okay? And so think of this on the right-hand side as about the document. Think of anything in or above to do something on the document. I'm going to just, actually, that's not the one I wanted. I thought I copied and pasted. Let me copy that again. Oh, okay. I didn't copy, I pasted. And so I'm going to paste this prompt, right? Now, what I'm going to do is put in this document, this prompt, I'm going to say, I want this SpliceNet non-disclosure agreement, and it's not doing it because of the space. I'm going to say non-disclosure. All right, there's a non-disclosure agreement, okay? And I'm going to say, I want using this non-disclosure agreement, so I'm starting with the document in my system already, and using the same formatting, create a new non-disclosure agreement for a technology company. Boom, on go. And it's going to make that for us, okay? In record time, actually, usually does it within, less than a minute for short documents. Can you do this for a motion for summary judgment? Can you do this for some kind of will and estate? Can you do this for any contract? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it's taken its good old time. And so think about this, when you're working and you need to create a document on the fly, do you have to start with a brand new document? No. By the way, I want you to know something. That precursor document that I said uses a template, it was a PDF. And so it read the PDF and it's coming back, and I don't like the formatting, but I'm going to leave it the way it is, okay? Because I don't want to mess with formatting. Usually you got really cool formatting, right? And it's really smart like that, so you don't have to format it yourself. Now, with that document, though, I'm saying, okay, I want to know, is in this document specific items, what are the specific items that need to be protected? So that is kind of an about question, right? So I'm not going to do it in the document. I'm going to do it over here. What are the specific items in this document that needs to be protected? Look at that. And it's doing research within the document, okay? And maybe giving us a couple of other things to consider, right? And it also give you reference lines. So where is it at? So you can click on it and go right to that, all right? Cool, right? Cool. I think that's really cool. So if you got a long document like irrevocable trust from opposing counsel or something like that, or something that somebody sent you, you can do the same thing with this. You can research and say, does it have that? Okay. Now what I want to do is I want it to think for me a little bit. And I know I'm going fast, but this is more to show you the kinds of things you can do than to train you on it. That's a little bit different of a thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste this in here, and I'm going to say, it says turn off web access. That's for me, right? I want, based on internet findings of similar documents, what other clauses should be considered for this agreement? Well, I want internet access, and that's right here, and you'll find that in the world from most of the places in Copilot. You can toggle it on or off, all right? I'm going to leave it on based on internet findings. I was pretty specific, right? Now, it'll do more than that because it wants to think a little bit smarter and kind of predict for you, but it's going to comb through some things from the internet, and it tells you where it pulled it from. Let it finish up. Okay. And look at that. We've got references to some resource that we can go look at further. And we could say, we can then copy and paste this. Okay. So you know what? I like this one's. Okay. I like this one right here. And I'm going to say, I want to add that to this document right here. So I enter a line and I use this Copilot, again, do something in the document, and I paste that add in there, and I'm going to say add. Okay, add exclusions and non-disclosure, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it is. It's really more about the kind of thing that you can do with it. And then there you go. It added that section. So for a paralegal that's drafting documents, they don't have to start from scratch, or whoever drafts your documents. This can apply to attorneys too. They don't have to draft documents from scratch. They can start with something that they've already got. They can make it similar. They can be specific about it. I could have said maybe that wasn't for a technology company, for a real estate company. Who knows, right? You know, the possibilities are endless. So we save a lot of time by doing this. And that's the goal of this. A lot of people say, can I search discovery information? You bet. You bet. You can absolutely search discovery information, both in that Microsoft 365 Copilot chat or in the chat, what's called the Microsoft Word chat, okay, which is that thing on the right-hand side. That's called the chat on the right-hand side. Now, hope that was good. That was for people that draft documents regularly, do research, you know, so on and so forth. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. Now I'm going to move into some more popular things that might happen for legal administrators. Now we have all kinds of legal administrators, but I'm going to deal with legal administrators that are evaluating different things at the firm, okay? Maybe HR is a big one. So I'm going to create a new PowerPoint presentation, okay? And I'm going to say, and you see this up here, right? Create a presentation. And I'm going to put in that prompt, create a presentation to show common law firm employee benefit packages and include differentiation of non-lawyers and lawyers, right? In that. The lawyers section should include pay scales and benefits for attorney levels, junior associate, so on and so forth, right? I could even reference a file if I want to, but I'm just going to fly with it and let it go. And what it does is it starts to build this presentation. Now, the people that are using PowerPoints most of the time, you could maybe do it on a presentation for your clients, something you're proposing, you know, but legal administrators do a lot of these things and present it to whomever, right? You could probably do it for court document and it's something you're presenting in court. I don't know, right? But the idea is that it generated that from information on the internet. I have no information in my Microsoft 365, so it actually did it. Imagine if we went to a chat GPT and we said to do it. Yeah, we'd get a great outline or maybe something like that, and then we had to put it in there and figure out what to do with it. No, we did it. Now, in addition to that, I could do a PowerPoint presentation based off of a file also, or based off a document or spreadsheet or file or whatever. So it's pretty endless as to what you can do. Look at that. Look at how many slides it's actually generating for this meeting. And so I'm going to go keep this. I'm going to say love it, keep it, okay, and keep it. And then I'm going to display it like this. Great stuff. It doesn't really matter what it says. We're going to read it over. We're going to review it. But as I read it over and review it, I'm thinking to myself, maybe, you know, I need to actually talk about how to entice our lawyers to move through the ranks, because that's what we all ultimately want them to do. And so as I go through my sections, there's sections, benefits packages for lawyers, and overview. All right. And then there's pay scales for each position and some information for each position. But you know what I want to talk about, because I know what we're trying to do in our firm. We're trying to get people to move along the ranks, because we want heavy hitters. We want all-stars at our law firm. So I'm going to insert a slide about how the additional benefits of lawyer levels will motivate them to work harder to achieve higher levels, right? Yeah, of course. You get to go to retreats. You get to go, you get more earnings and, more, you get maybe, originating attorney, fee structures and so on and so forth, right? And so I added a section in here that just kind of touches on that. And then at the same time, Copilot is saying, hey, maybe this is important to you, kind of predicting what you want to ask, and so it's giving you kind of prompts itself to say, hey, I know you, and I know that these might be, based on what I know about you, these might be relevant questions that maybe you want to ask me. And so it's kind of trying to predict something that you might want to have a conversation about. Well, I don't want to. I added that slide. I'm happy about that slide. Now, but you know what? I do want to do a little bit more research. And so I'm going to use a Microsoft Copilot chat, PowerPoint Copilot chat, which is what this is over here on the right-hand side. That's called the chat in any program. And I'm going to turn on web research if it's not turned on because I want it to go, I say other firms. Well, we don't have that information. Go out to the internet and find me some stuff. So you know what? It's doing that. And I could also say insert a slide based on this information at the same time. But look at that. It pulled some information from some websites. I don't even know what they are. Work-life balance website, additional perks, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what it found? We can research it. We can figure out, or we can use it and we can insert slides on it, right? So that's the kind of thing that we can do in PowerPoint. I show that for legal administrators because generally speaking, that's where we're getting most of the PowerPoints. Now, to the attorneys, right? This is important. We create documents, we're researching, we're editing all the time. In addition to that, we're having meetings all the time. I'm going to show you some really cool things about meeting, and that's kind of off script, just so you know. So I'm going to say, do we have any lease agreements? I'm going to go to my Copilot chat, which is the Copilot program. And where are you at? You're hiding on me, aren't you? Did I close it? Let me open it again. Yeah, I did close it. How about that? I'm going to go to the Copilot chat. Where are you at? Where are you hiding? I got 3 screens. So here it is, the Copilot chat. All right. I'm going to turn off web. I'm going to only work in work. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in here and say, do we have any lease agreement for this address? Now, based on this, it's going to go through and it's going to find some lease agreements, right? And so, yeah, there's a lease agreement for signature that it's obviously for our location, for our office. And as an attorney, I'm like, well, you know what? We need to do a lease renewal on this, or we need to do another type of lease, but I'm thinking of a lease renewal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new Word again, and I'm going to do a new document. And I'm going to say for that, I'm going to go back to my prompt, create a new lease agreement purchase, lease renewal, okay? And I'm going to give it some specifics, all right? I'm going to have to refer to this document again because I just put it in there as a placeholder. And find that lease for signature. That's the one I want. Increase the rent by 5% each year. A new lease end date of 3 years. That's pretty specific, isn't it? And so we're referring to that lease and we're saying, based on that, and we want some specifics for a new lease agreement. And we want you to do a little bit of work for us at the same time. Read the amounts and raise the price every year 5%, right? And so on and so forth. Look at that. And so it did. And so it simply made a nice new agreement, okay? And it starts then, because that's when the old one ends. I know that because it's coming up this year. And this is how 3 years out, right? And here's the table of what the payments should be for each month or for each period, right? So it did that work for me. I didn't have to do that work. Yeah, it's not clean and pretty at the end of it, but that's because it was based on a PDF. Yeah, I can start this. This is really saving me a lot of time as an attorney. And I like saving time because I can get more clients happy. But I need to know a couple of things about this lease agreement. And so I use my Microsoft Word Copilot chat. And again, that is this over here on the right-hand side. So whenever you see the word chat, it is something like this. I paste that in there. Is a termination clause in this? Okay, I don't even refer to the document. I'm just saying, is there a termination clause in it? And it's reading through it and saying, well, let's see if we can find you one. And so it's finding as close to leasing must provide 60-day notice to renew or terminate the lease extension. Cool. I like that. Okay. It did find it. And there is a link. So I can go right to that section if I want to. And here, let's go click that one. And there it is right there. Okay. But you know what? Is there a right of inspection clause in that one? Maybe we need to get a little more particular. We need to make sure this has got what we need in it in particular that our client has asked for. So it's going to go through it. It's going to find anything that's in it. Nope, couldn't find it. I don't got it, which is kind of interesting. And so, there we go. The document primarily covers the, yeah, but it doesn't find, I couldn't find a right of inspection. So now we're going to go off script because it didn't do it. I'm going to actually add a section, okay? And I'm going to say renewal options, other terms and conditions. I need to put it right here. And I'm going to say add a right of inspection clause, call it whatever you want, right? And go. I could base it off a file. I could base it off something else. And so there it is, right of inspection. And I clean it up, I keep it, and it works the way I need it to work for me. But I know that as an attorney, I'm not an expert at leases. I've done a lot of them, but I'm not that guy, right? Yeah, we took it on because it's one of our favorite clients, but it's not something we do all the time. We can definitely handle it though. And I say to Copilot, using web research, right here, it's turned on. What are other web research suggest we add to this document? Because maybe this isn't what we do. Maybe we need to, the jurisdiction of laws, whatever, And so look at that, names of tenants and occupants. It gave me some great resources, 10 items to include, right? And so moving and out inspections, that's a good one. So we're going to go ahead and take that, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to say right here, and in the Copilot chat, our Copilot, add a end section, right there. I always forget that. And it added that. Moving and out inspections. Notice I got the formatting. I didn't call it a clause, I said a section, and that's why I did it different. And so now we added that to that Word document. So we're done with that, right? So now we know how to do some documents. We know how to do some research. I want to show you one other thing that many people don't think about when it comes to this. It comes to Microsoft 365 Copilot. We have meetings all the time, and quite honestly, my memory is not what it used to be. And so I did this fake divorce meeting with Debbie, and I want to know some details of it, right? And because I've got Copilot, I could ask this divorce, okay? Summarize this meeting, okay? And by the way, this was done in a Teams meeting, so I recommend you use Teams. It doesn't work with Zoom or anything else. And because I recorded it and transcribed it with Copilot, which it does automatically when you record it, it gives me some details of what the meeting was all about. And I can say how many kids and ages. And maybe we can get sexes too. Okay? Oops, sexes. It knows you can misspell. It knows we're dumb. Jackson, 10 years old. Oh, are they boys? Let's see if it can figure it out. Boys or girls? Let's see if it can actually interpret that. I've not tried this for a long time. Are they boys or girls? Doesn't say. Let's see if we can really get it. Do you think? From the names. I should have said from the names. Now I'm asking it to kind of be interpreted. Can't provide opinions. Okay, so maybe it can't do that, but it got a lot of great information. So the key here is that you never have to worry about, if you're doing a client consult, you can record this meeting with a client consult. They can be wherever they're at, and you can do it virtual, which is a lot of the ways I like to recommend it anymore. A lot of great things on the easy ways to get virtual client consults. And if they don't miss, ways we can keep them from missing, I can help you with that as well. We can up the percentage in which people attend these client consults. So that's what I got. And let me go back to my PowerPoint and kind of kill you with that a little bit. Those are my demonstrations, but I want to give you this. This is a great resource. And by the way, you will get this recording, so you don't have to remember this, but this is a great resource from Microsoft. I want you to notice, though, for Copilot prompting, look at all the applications at the bottom here that Copilot is included in your Microsoft 365. It's awesome. I mean, it's unreal, the things that it works with. I mean, you can do forms based on Copilot, so on and so on and so on. And so, I want you to know how to get started with it. If you don't buy it, you don't have it. Everybody says, well, I think I have Copilot. If you didn't buy Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is all add-on license to Microsoft Business Premium, Microsoft E3, Microsoft 365 E3, or Microsoft 365 E5, you don't have it. Talk to me. I'll help you figure it out. The cost on it, if you want to buy it annually per user, is $360. Okay. But if you want to buy it monthly, it's $31.50 per user per month. And so it's an annual subscription. You're just paying for it monthly, like all you do with all the other Microsoft 365. I wouldn't just go out and get it, though. talk to me about it. I recommend doing a roadmap or a test drive or just kind of a consult with me on it because I don't want people to waste money on this. In addition, we want to talk about security. We want to talk about what you got to do because it won't work if your data is not all in Microsoft 365. Okay. We want to make sure that, you have ways to access your data wherever it's at. And so I can help you understand and make it accessible for Copilot so you can be the most productive you can. So it's easy. If you want to do a test drive with me, just email me at jim@splice.net. There's the email address. Or you can do this link and this QR code and so on and so forth. Doesn't matter to me. But I recommend that we do a kind of an overview session. I don't charge for these things. Of course, hopefully I'll help you implement a project, do a project implementation or help you get the licensing. But the important thing is I want you to do it right, and I want you to do it and get the information from a professional. Copilot's pretty new. Not everybody really knows about it. Not everybody really understands it. So somebody that just consults on Microsoft 365 may not be an expert. Plus, if you want the best adoption possible, we can tap you into great resources through us and Microsoft, being a partner of theirs. So that's what I got. Did we have any questions, Debbie?
No questions.
Oh, I'm sad. Do we have any questions, everybody, right now? If you do, just go ahead and put them in the chat and I'll answer them. This is just where I do a kind of a Q&A. This always takes us over, but the meat of it was here. If you need to drop off and you don't have a question, that's fine. I appreciate coming. We'll send you a link to the recording and also a link if you want to do a test drive too. So otherwise, I'm done if there's no questions. But if there's somebody who wants to ask some questions, I'll hang on for the next few minutes. So was this good? Give me a thumbs up if you thought it was good. Okay, so I got a question
Jim.
from Leah.
You got a question? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You may have answered this, but can Copilot create a Word document summarizing a PDF of medical records?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me go ahead and just do that since that's a really good question. I'm not going to do it on medical records because I don't have any medical records, Leah. Okay, but I will do this summarize. Okay, and I'm going to do that same lease agreement. It's a PDF. Okay. And so I'm going to use that and, I'm not being detailed, so I'm just going to ask it to summarize it. Now, I might not do that in Word, but unless I want to send this to somebody, I will do it in Word. So I'll save the document. But if I'm really just trying to think of, is it a summary, summarize it for me, I could go to my Copilot chat over here and do it here and I'll say summarize. Okay. And I say legal lease, there it is, lease for signature. And by the way, it doesn't have to be just one. It could be multiple documents at the same time. Okay. So you know what? These are unrelated. This is a sales tax summary. I'm not afraid to show it to you. Summarize those,
want to
right?
Share your screen, Jim?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I do want to share my screen, actually. That's kind of silly. I'll show you again, Leah. Give me a second. But the answer is yeah. Absolutely. Share. Yeah. Screen. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to show you the Word example. Okay. So here's a Word example. I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to redo it real quick. Okay. And I'm going to say cancel. I'm going to say get rid of that. So I'm going to ask it in the document, summarize that lease for signature, lease agreement. It could be a medical record. You can ask for specific things too. And I have programs that interface with it to ask very specific legal questions, okay, that are really important, like, docketing and stuff like that. And so it just summarize that in Word. Now I can save it and send it to somebody, all right? But if I'm just looking for that summary, I could come to my Copilot and I can summarize it here, summarize, and ask more details, by the way, okay? Again, it's really interesting as to how much it can do, at least for signature. And then it will do it, but not on a document format, okay? Maybe, and I can do it you might be able to do it in an email also. But when this is done, somebody wants to know, okay, well, guess what? When it's all done, I'll just copy this, okay? Copy this, and I'll paste it in an email and send it to somebody. So does that answer the question, Leah? Was that pretty cool? Okay, cool. Hope you like that. Give me a thumbs up if you guys like that. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else want to give me a good example? I like examples, and it really helps you guys understand it better. So I appreciate that, Lyra. Yeah, I appreciate you guys joining, by the way. Anything else? Listen, I'll tell you what, you really should sign up for a one-on-one. I do these for free. It's about a 30-minute. I'm not selling. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm just trying to educate. I want to be the person to educate you on this stuff. So shoot me an email, jim@splice.net. I'll happily, set up 30 minutes with you and multiple people from the firm. I like it when we get a group of people. And if it takes an hour, it takes an hour. I just want to show you guys what's possible and give you guys real world examples as to your practice area. Like I know Leah's practice area, what they do in her firm, right? I want to get to that, and say, oh, wow, that's a really great scenario. That could really save us a lot of time. Okay. So email me at jim@splice.net. Any other questions, people? Going once, going twice, 3 times, gone. Is that right, Deb?
Yep, that's it.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. You can go ahead and disconnect and go back to sleep. I hope I didn't wake you up for too much time. Kidding. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.